Hi friends, it's Maria and John Hoffman here to talk all things real estate in December 2025 in our Tampa Bay, Florida real estate market. Hey John.
Hey, and you look like I like the Christmas
Like our Christmas lights. I know, we're in the spirit. We're in the season.
Love this time of the year.
I know we do. And we finally made it through the Thanksgiving leftovers and oh my gosh, all that pie. It's my favorite thing.
Okay.
Apple pie for breakfast.
So let's talk real estate.
Let's talk real estate.
What questions you have?
Okay, well, everybody's asking, how's the market?
The market is the market. We're finding that homes are selling. Homes aren't selling. There's still depending on the section of town, 30 to 40% of homes are going under contract in less than 30 days.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would be surprised at that statistic, but we've been pulling these numbers every single month, and we're finding that to be the case all year long, right?
No, and so I think the biggest challenge people have is they look or they hear or they read that the market is, with the foreclosure rate is short sales and there's doom and gloom. And
we don't have that many of them. We really don't.
No, we don't. And what's interesting is if people look at YouTube, mm-hmm. or they look at other news sites, bad news sells.
Yeah.
Because you've got these content creators that every video they do is doom and gloom.
Yeah.
And it's just the world's going to end in real estate and people keep clicking.
Yeah.
So here's the reality. The absorption rate in the greater Tampa area is right at 4 to 4.5 months of inventory.
Okay.
Meaning that if nothing else came on the market, everything would be absorbed in a little less than 5 months.
So John, isn't that a pretty balanced market?
No, well, 5 to 6 months is considered balance.
Okay.
Less than 5 would be considered more towards a seller's market. And if you ever got down to the COVID, where we had 2 weeks of inventory, yeah. That's when the pricing was going through the roof.
Yeah.
So technically, we're still slightly towards a seller's market. None of these areas are over 6 months of absorption, which would then be more of a buyer's market.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is pricing is down year over year.
Okay.
Anywhere from 2% to 5%, depending on the area.
Right.
Yet the absorption rate is still leaning a little bit towards the seller. So what does that tell us? It tells us buyers want to buy.
Yes.
Buyers want to buy a house that doesn't need a whole lot of work if they can.
Yeah.
Money's tight. Maria, did you know that the average age of a first-time home buyer now is a little over 39 years old?
39 years old, yeah.
And 6-7 years ago, it was 29 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So the cost of living, interest rates, have all having an impact on the real estate market.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, John, what do you think is the biggest misconception that sellers have right now about selling a home?
Sellers tend to come up with a price that they have in mind.
Okay.
That they want to price their house at this price because they think it's worth it, or they need to get a certain price point to be able to make their next move, and they don't have the expertise in doing it, but they really don't understand the importance of getting a house ready to go on the market.
Yeah, yeah. You bring up such a good point, because a lot of times a seller will say to me, well, can't I just sell it as is, or offer a credit, or forego some of the steps to get the home prepared? And yet I see the sellers that get the best results, John, are the ones that take it very seriously and have the attention to detail to make the home appealing to buyers, to do the things like the touch-up paint, the decluttering, the landscaping.
It goes hand in hand with what we talked about, is that, inflation, interest rates, money is a little scarce right now for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if you expect a buyer to come in and carpet and repaint or put in new countertops, whatever they need to do, they might not have the resources to do it, and they would just rather pay a little bit more for a house in better shape, right?
And roll it into their 30-year, fixed mortgage, or or not have to do that work, not have to lay out all that cash right after closing.
Yeah, so in today's market, you need to, as you alluded to, curb appeal is critical.
Yeah.
Paint baseboards and doors, interior walls if they need to. If your carpet needs to be stretched, stretch it, replace it if you need to.
Okay.
So a seller would be really smart if they could identify every negative that can be turned into a positive before they go on the market.
Yeah, and not wait.
Even little stuff like, if all your closets are filled with stuff, declutter.
Yeah. And John, the thing is, you want to be getting that information from your listing agent way before you go on the market, as opposed to getting that feedback from buyers once your home's on the market and they've already been in to see it, right? Because it's too late then, right?
Yeah, but the temptation is that sellers interview a couple of real estate agents, and the one that tells them, oh, you don't need to do anything, they're going to hire that agent.
Oh, gosh,
Or
yes.
they're going to hire the agent that gives them the highest price.
Yeah.
And because, that's just human nature. Oh, I like this realtor because they're telling me I don't have to do it.
Well, John, so December 1st of the month is always a big day for expired listings, homes that come off the market. So we had over 140 expired listings here in our Tampa Bay market, just in the area that we would cover. And every month we see that number being higher. And I think it's due sometimes to sellers just not getting the right advice right from the get-go.
Well, if it's that, or some sellers will say, like, I was looking at a house this morning. This property's been on the market for 440 days.
Okay.
Which is just a seller that's got a price in mind that if they can't get it, they're not going to sell their home.
Yeah.
So you've got some of that. What is really concerning is when we talk to the expireds and explain to them why their house didn't sell, and then they go, well, that makes complete sense. I wish I knew this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes, they're just getting not the best information.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between hiring someone that tells you what you want to hear versus hiring somebody that's telling you what you need to know. So
right. So at the end of the day, Maria, what do you think sellers should do? So we're in the first week of December, and we always know that in our market. So when you look at Hillsborough County, and Pasco County on the eastern side of the county, 98% of the residents are year-round. The average age is 36 years old, which is why our spring market is always the busiest. So there are people that are going to be putting their home on the market that might be watching us right now.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 or 4 things that they need to do before they go on the market?
Oh, absolutely. Well, number one, you want to have a plan. You want to have a plan. If it were me, I would meet with a top agent as soon as possible to identify the things that are going to move the needle in terms of selling your home, in terms of getting it ready. So if there are things that need to be done, and from where we sit, we don't want someone to spend $1 unless they're going to make $2.
So you don't want a homeowner taking it upon themselves on preparing what they might want to do. They might pick out the wrong color paint, or they might not do the right things. So you're saying interview 1 or 2 agents now, or right after the first of the year, and then find out, where we think the value is, when's the best time to sell. And then that agent that you hire can help you with a plan, can help you with vendors to help you do any improvements, can help you how to declutter, so there's no surprises. And more importantly, I think, one thing that we're really good at is telling people, here's where your home will probably sell for if the conditions remain the same.
Yeah.
Does this allow you to meet your goals?
Right. Yeah. And, when I think about the people that had the absolute best outcomes all year, right? That person on average was calling us, reaching out to us 2, 3, 4 months before they planned to hit the market. I mean, I think of some of the folks that sold in April, May, June, and a lot of those folks, they were calling us in October and November and actually getting the game plan together. So it's not too early, and it really is a great time to set that plan in motion so that there really is no stress and there really is a relaxed way of making this actually a fun experience and stress-free.
Maria, I think, and we're going to be doing a deep dive video on this at the beginning of January, I think that 2026 will be a better overall market than 2025.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're predicting that.
And I think the reason is right now the government is doing quantitative easement, which means they're printing more money.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll find out next week if the interest rates are going to come down a little bit more. But when the government prints more money goes into circulation, interest rates tend to drop. And so I think that we're going to have a pleasant surprise in 2026. And I think the sellers that take advantage of that and really get a head start are going to benefit. But if I'm a buyer and I'm like, well, wait a minute, if the market's going to get better, that means I'm going to have more competition.
Yeah.
And so the buyers need to be prepared.
Yeah.
Right? And so what should buyers do to prepare for the spring market?
Yeah. I'll tell you, John, this has been an absolutely great time to be a buyer. And some of the things that we've been able to negotiate for our buyers, interest rate buy downs, closing costs, it's really been a great experience and a lot more fun to be a buyer now than it was back in 2021 in COVID. So while people are, a lot of them are still saying things like, oh yeah, I'm going to wait. The reality is waiting could actually cost you a whole lot more when you go to buy your home. So I would say if you've been putting it on the back burner, just because that's what you feel like you need to do, this would be the time to take a look at it.
Well, let me give you a shortcut.
Yeah.
So for example, Maria, we might have a buyer come in and meet with us and they're looking for a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 3-car garage with a pool in Tampa Palms for under $400,000.
Yikes.
and we will be honest with them and say, you know what, that doesn't really exist. But at $400,000, this is what your buying power is in this part of town and is in this part of town. And in this part of town to help guide you for your expectations, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can get a lot of this done so you, as a buyer, you know what you're looking for and what you can afford, that allows you to really zero in on a property that meets your criteria.
John, I need to share something with buyers. You just made me think of something about that consultation. So we just put our listing on the market, beautiful home, move-in ready, great price, and had an open house and had several different groups come in. And so we've already been receiving offers on the house, and several of the people that came in hadn't even been pre-approved, didn't have anyone helping them look. And it's going to be really difficult for them to get that particular home because they weren't ready. And the reality is, like you said, 30% of the homes are going under contract within the first 30 days. Homes that are coming on the market at a good price and in good condition are selling quickly. So if you're a buyer, you don't want to go out looking without understanding what your buying power is and having that pre-approval.
Well, and far too many buyers will just work with an agent that they meet once and they don't ask the questions, they don't interview the agent. And with what was that stat? 77% of realtors sold less than three homes or less this year. So you might be really trusting somebody that might not have the greatest amount of experience to help you.
Yeah, exactly.
So Maria, buyers need to be prepared, right? And they need to interview realtors and then, get a buyer broker agreement with somebody that brings value.
Yes.
Because as realtors, our job is to provide value.
Yeah.
either to a seller or a buyer. And you've got to make sure, if any buyer or seller working with an agent, make sure that agent has experience and brings value.
Yeah.
Because this is a pretty big purchase that you're going to
It
be
is.
sale
And,
that you're going to be doing.
we always tell our buyers, if you come back to us in 5 years to list this house because your life has changed or you're moving up or whatever the situation is, we want to be excited to list that home because you got a great property at a great price and a great location, and so it's about the relationship. And it's about the long term.
We just had buyers that are, matter of fact, they're closing today, and they're paying a premium for the house, but we told them.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying what we believe to be above market value, and as single agents, that's our job. But they love the house, and they're fine with that because in 10 years they don't care if they overpay.
Yeah.
But at least they knew.
Yeah.
Right. So we're first week of December. Are we going to be taking any time off for Christmas and New Year's?
Well. Our phones keep ringing. I got to tell you, the phones do ring. I mean, that's the thing here in our Tampa Bay market. It tends to be very, very busy over the holidays. So, we'll get our little break, but we'll be here.
We hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, but we're always going to be available for you. Make it a great, great year.